Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into a remote version of the CHGO Live White Sox podcast. Vinny's face was covered there for a second. Nice job, Joey, to be on your feet. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show on Twitter at CHGO_White Sox. Alongside me, the normal CHGO White Sox crew, Vinny Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinny Duber. Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. And our special guest, we have our friends over at Rotowire. Again, you can go and have a 2-day free trial over at Rotowire. No commitments. You don't have to give your credit card. You can enjoy their vast array of expertise for baseball season, especially with fantasy season coming right up. So you can go to rotowire.com/CHGO to register. Again, you don't need to commit with a credit card. You could just dive in for 2 days and see if it's for you. And one of the experts that you can get write-ups from, you can ask the expert as well over at Rotowire, is Chris Crawford. You can follow him on Twitter at Crawford_MILB. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing really well. Thank you guys for having me. It's fun to talk some fantasy sports as we get actually really close to this regular season. It's been fun to have a somewhat normal spring training, and it's nice to be able to talk about this instead of all the other stuff that has prevented us from having a normal spring training the last couple of years.
Baseball's back. I mean, you enjoying the World Baseball Classic?
I love it. Love it. It is destroying my sleep schedule. There is no doubt about that, but I will stay up until I'm on the West Coast. I will stay up until 5 a.m. to watch Shohei Ohtani pitch or to watch Chinese Taipei compete. That was such an amazing game today. This is the best. I hope that it gains more popularity, and I hope it gains more fantasy popularity. Like, I think there's some really fun stuff that we can do with this tournament. But yeah, I think it's awesome. I hope you guys are enjoying it too.
And Chris, I was wondering, I know we haven't had a World Baseball Classic since 2017 because of circumstances out of their doing, but do you feel like, as a fantasy guy, that there might be some value to people who are playing in this World Baseball Classic in the regular season to pick these guys up, and their value will be bigger than it would be if they didn't participate in the World Baseball Classic?
Sure, that's a great question. I think so, yes, especially pitchers, because I think, we talk about the negative connotations are obvious. Like, unfortunately, we have seen some guys come out of this tournament in the past hurt. But there's some positives, too, that they are getting a much more live repetition against elite competition. Like, you can't simulate this. You can't simulate the fact that these guys are actually facing off against legitimate baseball players rather than guys in high A. And that is something that I think you have to keep in mind. You have to be a little bit more ready. It's almost the opposite of the home run derby, too, for hitters, whereas instead of them just taking a bunch of swings, over July, these guys are getting real reps that you can't really simulate. So, yeah, I might put a few guys higher on my board, but particularly pitchers who are actually getting in some real work. I know you could take it the opposite way and spin it and say, oh, my gosh, this guy's throwing 65 pitches on March 10th. I'll take the positive in saying he's facing a legitimate lineup and more ready to go than the other guys. But definitely you want to pay attention to that injury stuff as well. But I do think there's some positives to be taken.
Chris, we watch this White Sox team, every single day.
Sure.
We know kind of our own thoughts on who's primed for a bounce back, who's going to have a good season, and I'm sure all our viewers and listeners have their own opinions as well. But tell us what makes the difference between, hey, this guy's going to have a good season versus this guy's going to have a good fantasy season.
That's a great question. And I think one of the things that I always come back to is you look at defense, how much it matters in terms of a real life player and how honestly little it matters in terms of fantasy. Now, it does make a little bit of a difference. Like, if a player, like especially prospects, is going to stick at shortstop, right? that's something to keep in mind because there's more value for him being a shortstop than there is a third baseman in fantasy as well. It's a little different actually now because the third base position is just trash right now. But normally you want that guy to be at shortstop or you want him to be at second base. So that's a really big thing as well. And then there are just like little things that players do that just don't have the same sort of going first to third. It can make a little bit of a difference in fantasy, but that doesn't really show up unless they end up scoring that run. Walks, if you're playing in an average league, walks are wonderful. I think you should play in an on-base percentage league, but there's a very good chance that you're not. That walk doesn't help you at all if that player doesn't score a run. So that can be a little bit of a frustrating thing, but just those little differences, like there are going to be guys who have much more fantasy value than real life value because they can hit a lot of home runs and maybe not be so great defensively and vice versa. So yeah, there are some small differences, but more and more they're kind of tending to correlate as we get less 5x5 standard category stuff.
Well, I want to circle back to the pitchers, and you're not worried maybe if they're throwing 65 pitches right now. One of our guys, Lance Lynn, is primed, ready for Team USA, and we think that he's ready for a big 2023. We just talked about the White Sox pitcher that could throw the most innings. We feel like Lance Lynn, I think two of us picked him to throw the most innings. So what do you feel about Lance Lynn? Is him being in the World Baseball Classic good for him?
I think it is. And I think part of that is, I think everybody knows how competitive this guy is on the mound. And I think he's going to want to be really ready for this regular season as well, coming off to a fairly disappointing season. But I think it's going to be good for him. And I'm a huge fan of Lance Lynn being a bounce back guy. Like if you look at the metrics, it does suggest that there was some bad luck for him last year. I'm always going to count on him as being an innings guy, even with last year's injury stuff. He's just such a bulldog on the mound that if you are playing in a league that values innings, he's going to be high on my board. He missed barrels at an above average rate. He was elite at throwing strikes, and he was well above average in strikeouts. So that should have correlated in a much better season for him. But I think he's going to be a guy who is ready to roll for this World Baseball Classic, and I think he's going to be much, much better, as I do think all of the White Sox starting pitching options are going to be. It's one of the reasons why I think they're being underrated for winning that division, is that I think all of these guys are going to be in for a bounce back, and I really like Lance Lynn for 2023.
Chris, when you look at the new rules, obviously that's been the big talking point of spring training. We have already gotten a small taste of what it's going to mean in terms of watching a baseball game every day. What are the new rules going to mean for fantasy baseball?
I think they're going to play a big part in a lot of ways. First of all, the first thing that I think comes to mind is stolen bases, just because of the fact that we do have the wider bases. It's going to be easier for success rates. You're going to see some guys run a lot more, and I think that's going to be awesome. And it's also going to be something where you don't necessarily have to chase stolen bases anymore. Like there are guys that for those unfamiliar, we call them one category guys. And there are players who really you're only expecting to succeed in one area. You're only expecting to succeed in average or home runs. And it's always been really hard to justify carrying the one guy who only steals bases, because he very often, that player, not the stereotype, does not succeed in contributing in the home run category or the RBI category. So I think that's going to be big, because you're going to have some players who steal 25 to 30 bases and hopefully get you to the number you're looking at to win your league without reaching for it. I think that's going to play a big factor. The limiting of the shift is also going to be a big one as well, because I think batting averages are going to go up and whips are going to go up for pitchers. I believe Jeff Passan tweeted out that batting average on ground balls is up something like 20% just in spring training. Now, it's a small sample for sure, but you can see how that's going to carry over because of the fact that you're not going to see those extreme shifts against left-handers or against right-handers. I think that's going to be big as well, and it's going to help average for hitters, but you're going to see some guys who have higher whips just because you're going to see a lot more singles. And once those guys are on, a lot better chance for them to run. So it can also impact the ERA. We don't really know how much the new rules are going to change things because, again, we have a sample that is so small and we haven't seen it carry over into the big leagues just yet. But I do think it's going to play an impact, and certain hitters are going to get a big bump, but particularly in that stolen base category, with the fact that you only have basically 2 pickoffs and you do have much more range. I don't know if you guys have seen those bases. it may only be the 3 inches or whatever they say. It looks massive, and I think hitters are going to absolutely be able to take advantage of that sliding around tags. So yeah, it's definitely going to play an impact. We just kind of have to wait and see exactly how much when we get into the April, May stuff.
And Chris, I was wondering which players on the White Sox, both pitcher and batter, are the highest average draft position right now for standard leagues.
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time? I apologize.
Just the hitters and the pitchers on the White Sox. Who are the players that are going the highest in the drafts currently?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Luis Robert is the guy who's going off the board first among hitters by a substantial margin. And it's totally understandable why. The average, the home runs, the chance, even with some risk about some health stuff, we need to see him do it for a full season. He's still the guy who goes off the board very early. Tim Anderson and Eloy Jimenez are going off kind of neck and neck in that area. I love Jimenez this year. I think people are completely underrating just how good that guy was in the second half of the season. And then overall, I should say that Robert is the guy who's going first overall in terms of the hitters. Dylan Cease is being drafted first among Chicago White Sox by a substantial margin. And how could anybody blame? Like, he was a legitimate Cy Young contender all season. You're still seeing guys getting drafted like Lynn, Giolito, Kopech, and then some people who are betting on Kendall Graveman getting those save opportunities is getting in the later rounds as well. It does look like that might be more by committee, but Dylan Cease is a guy that you basically have to draft in the late second round to the top of the third. And I have been in a few leagues where I've seen him go in the first round of deeper drafts, like in the top 16, top 17 picks. People really believe in that swing and miss stuff.
I'm fully with you on Eloy. I found this stat not too long ago about Eloy versus sliders, and it's weird. It's a run value stat since 2020 on sliders above 85 miles per hour. He has a 15.6 run value. That's first in Major League Baseball. Second is Vlad Jr. at 13.8. So he's got nearly a 2 run value lead on now the most used pitch in baseball. And you know, what we know is, for those pitches to be effective, it needs to be over 85. He clearly sees them well since 2020. But then under 85, he's like 304. He's like at like 0. So I'm excited for him. It's going to be a fun year. Hopefully he plays a lot of DH, so he's healthy. But Robert, like, how have you noticed his stock adjust? Because we think of him as, this guy that could still be the star player of the White Sox, but like you said, health hasn't always been on his side. I think he's never played in 100 games before. Has there been a lack of faith now in the health? Like, is he a former first rounder now falling to the second round? Is he a former top 5 center fielder now falling to like 7 or 8? How's his stock kind of fallen over the past 3 years?
It's, so when he was as a rookie, there was a lot of hype there, and for justifiable reasons. The fact that, he signed that magic extension, which automatically made him ready to play Major League Baseball, that certainly helped his stock. He was a guy who was being drafted at the end of the first round to the end of the second round in 2021 and in 2022. Now you're seeing him fall more to the 4th or 5th round, and that has more to do with just the fact the outfield position is so loaded right now, and it's going to become even more loaded as Fernando Tatis Jr. makes that switch over to outfield. It's not quite a Byron Buxton level of, can this guy ever stay healthy yet? Because I think it's worth pointing out he stayed plenty healthy in 2020. It wasn't his fault that there were just that few amount of games to be played. But 2021 and 2022 both saw, and it's worth pointing out that it's partially based on the style of play as well. Like, this is a guy who is aggressive. He will go after baseballs. He will run. He is not going to be somebody who necessarily slows down on ground balls to if he knows there's an automatic out. Like, there's every player has some bit of jogitis is what I like to call it, but he's going to try to beat out those balls where he doesn't make hard contact. So yeah, he's more of a guy who's being drafted in that 45 to 50 range right now. I think that's a steal. because you have a chance to get a guy who legitimately can be a top 5 outfielder in baseball and maybe more. This was a guy who last year I actually picked to win MVP, and unfortunately, pretty much everything went wrong with that. Thanks for having me on anyways, despite me.
This entire panel also picked him to win MVP. It's totally
all right. So we're all equal geniuses.
We had 5 White Sox players hitting over 30 home runs last year.
To be fair, Vinny did not pick Luis Robert to be MVP last year.
Okay.
I picked Tim Anderson, so it went equally as well. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I appreciate your bravery there. That's look, I wouldn't be shocked if he's in that range again this year, though.
Like he is, I just watch him play, and there is everything that you can do on a baseball field, he can succeed at. It's just a matter of him staying on the field and being a little more consistent as well. I think you guys are well aware that the very best version of Luis Robert has not shown up every single month that he's been on the field as well. But yeah, right now, Luis Robert going 46th, and it was substantially higher last year. If you're in a fantasy redraft league, I would take advantage of that and take him probably 10 to 15 spots higher. But I do understand that there is risk that comes with the reward.
Chris, 2 guys who probably were not on a lot of rosters for the majority of last season, Yoan Moncada, Yasmani Grandal. The White Sox have put a lot of eggs into both of those guys' baskets to have big bounce back years. In terms of fantasy, maybe those guys aren't getting drafted quite yet, but where do they? When do people start picking them up, or do they start picking them up this year at some point?
So let's start with Moncada, just because I pulled him up just fairly recently. He on average in ESPN leagues is going 328th, and his overall, if you average out the big leagues, is 309th. For some perspective on that, Trevor Bauer's average draft position is 308th. There are not a lot of people who are believing in Yoan Moncada right now. Now, I think in an AL only league, he's someone I would be targeting, and especially like, I think I've heard he's got a little bit of the George R.R. Martin to become a nerd thing, that the stolen bases are coming. The stolen bases are coming. Maybe this is the year the stolen bases actually do come with the new bases. I'm just not willing to risk it in fantasy, especially as a guy who doesn't hit for a high average. And he, at this point in his career, doesn't exactly possess plus power. You know, at his age and his prospect pedigree and the fact that he has had some success, I do think he's at least worth a little bit of consideration. But fantasy managers so far are not buying it because he is going either undrafted or going very, very late in deep leagues. With Grandal, it's a little bit of a different story just because of the fact that he is a catcher, but you can rule out batting average. If you're playing in an on-base percentage league, and I've seen this myself, there are people who are much more willing to bet on him getting on at a nice clip. But he's another guy who's going 276th overall when you average out the big leagues, 294th in ESPN, 249th in the NFBC, which for those unfamiliar is kind of a higher end fantasy format. I think he can be a starting catcher, but I would feel much more comfortable with him in my second catcher based on what he's done over the last couple of years. But another guy that fantasy managers, and justifiably so, are just not believing in for 2023.
And Chris, last thing I got for you here, I'm wondering about the White Sox big free agent acquisition this offseason, Andrew Benintendi. Only 5 home runs last year, split between the Royals and the Yankees, going from the 3rd worst home run environment in Kansas City to the 3rd best home run environment for left-handed hitters at guaranteed rate. Is there any value in picking Andrew Benintendi, even if he doesn't bring the power bat?
I think it totally depends on how many outfielders that you're playing with. If you're playing in a league where you only have 3 outfielders and you're asking him to be one of the top 36 to 40 outfielders, even if he's in your utility spot, I think that's asking a little too much, just because of the fact that, yes, it is much more friendly surroundings, but this is a guy who has a career high of 20 home runs and it's dropped basically every other year. Did hit 17 in 2021. I think he's certainly better than that 5. I'm not sure if he's any better than that 17. And I think you might see a bit of a drop in average as well. A guy I like more for on-base percentage leagues, doesn't really steal bases anymore. Makes more sense as a bench outfielder, but could I see him being like a top 50 outfielder just because I do think that White Sox lineup is going to be better. He has a chance to steal more bases. I think he could be closer to that 15 range than he was before, at least, so that helps. score some more runs, certainly a much better lineup than the Kansas City that he was playing with for most of 2022. But I do think that I'd feel much more comfortable with him on my bench or as my fourth or fifth outfielder in a deeper league than somebody I'm starting in a traditional format.
Chris Crawford is joining us on behalf of Rotowire. And again, you can sign up for a 2-day free trial. Just go to rotowire.com/CHGO to register. You don't have to make a commitment. Rotowire is so confident in Chris with his vast experience in the baseball community. You've been doing prospects coverage since 2010. So when you get the expert function with the Rotowire account, my bad, you get to ask even when you're doing first-year player drafts. So we're going a little bit just major league right now, but do you have a favorite White Sox prospect for a first-year player draft? I mean, you got a Patreon where people can go check out your prospects guides. Let's flex the muscle here and the expertise. Who's your favorite prospect in the Sox organization right now?
Colson Montgomery has a chance to be a star, and I don't think enough people are talking about him as a potential star. He can do everything. Like it's not quite Luis Robert level, but he has a chance to be above average in every single category. I think the big question mark for him is whether or not he can stay at shortstop, especially with the rules changing. And I think we're going to see some more limiting coming for how much shortstops can play up the middle. I think this was just the start of it, but I think he has a chance to be like a well above average regular at shortstop, maybe even a plus guy. If you're talking on the 2080 scale, you could be talking about a 60 player. And then Oscar Colas, I think he's probably my favorite for rookie of the year in the American League. I know he does have to win that job, but I really think he's got a chance to be successful this year. He's more high floor than high ceiling. That what you see from Oscar Colas is pretty much what you get, but you get a guy with a 55 grade hit tool. So you're talking about 280, 290, possibly 20 home runs, should be able to steal a modicum of bases as well. He would be my easy favorite for AL Rookie of the Year just because I think he's going to get a lot of playing time early on. There's an awful lot to like about that. Unfortunately, the White Sox system after that dropped substantially, but Noah Schultz was a nice little pickup in the first round. Could see him being a very strong middle rotation starter. Peyton Pallette, a guy who would have been a first-round pick if not for his injuries coming into the year. I think he's got a chance for fantasy relevancy. And then they've got a bunch of middle infielders like Jose Rodriguez and Lennon Sosa, as well as Brian Ramos, who have a chance to be nice players, but they project more as utility guys. But Montgomery and Colas are both guys. One's going to be probably ready closer to 2025, whereas Colas is ready to go right now. But both of those guys have a chance to be really good for a very long time. And I would definitely be targeting them in dynasty leagues for sure.
My 25-1 ticket for Oscar Colas to win Rookie of the Year is very thankful for your analysis, Chris.
I'll hit you up after that pays out and see what we can do.
Well, absolutely. We appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we can do this again. Enjoy AJ Pollock as well. I know you're in the Northwest over there, and you do a Seattle Mariners podcast as well. You liking Pollock? We're hoping for big things for him.
We'll see. I watched a lot of his at-bats getting ready for it, and he looked pretty lost against right-handed pitching. Crushed lefties, but against right-handers, it was kind of like, Jared Kelenic, you better be good, buddy.
Fingers. That's Herb's guy, Jared Kelenic.
There we go. Perfect.
So we'll see. Thank you, Chris, and hopefully we'll talk to you again in 2023. You can follow Chris on Twitter at Crawford_MILB. And again, go to rotowire.com/CHGO to start your free 2-day trial, and you can ask Chris questions if you got about your draft or any. I mean, can they ask you just anything, Chris?
They can ask me anything, and they can ask me anything on my Twitter as well. Just be ready for some bad puns. I can only apologize ahead of time.
Very nice. And I saw Edgar Martinez said you're a good godson. So, I mean, that's a high compliment. Appreciate it, Chris. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So we appreciate Chris Crawford joining us again from Rotowire. And it is a great deal. If you are looking to build out your fantasy draft, they are the expert. It is baseball season. Get your latest fantasy baseball news from Rotowire, a pioneer of fantasy sports for over 25 plus years. They have clean sheets, custom player rankings to fit all leagues. And again, their experts can analyze all those weird baseball stats that Chris was throwing out there and let you know why it's important for that player and for your fantasy team. They have mock drafts galore, the Ask the Expert function, and premium draft kits. So it's going to help you not only for fantasy, daily fantasy, but also sports betting as well. And it's not just baseball. They have fantasy advice on everything from golf, soccer, and Vinny's favorite, NASCAR. So for a limited time Only Rotowire is offering a free 2-day trial to our listeners. Just go to rotowire.com/CHGO to register. No commitments. They are so confident that you like their product and want to invest in a subscription plan that they don't even ask for a credit card up front. So take a peek behind the paywall, and when your trial is done, you could decide if a Rotowire package is right for you. Guys, when I was middle of that last question, my cat started scratching on the door. That's why I turned my mic off and my camera. Got to leave the litter box outside the room that I'm recording in, or there's going to be issues. Anyways, got to let you know too about DraftKings Sportsbook.
That's why you don't get cats, Sean.
Why? You have to take yours outside. I don't have to do that.
Yeah, and he waits until I'm ready to go outside.
Vinny's a cat person. He knows what I'm talking about.
I am not a cat person. I just happen to have a cat.
Okay. Well,
perfect.
Yeah. Good thing your cat doesn't speak English because you'd hurt its feelings. We also got to let you know about DraftKings Sportsbook, our official betting partner of CHGO. They have no sweat NBA same game parlays going on right now. If you bet $10 on any same game parlay, 3 legs or more, you can get $10 in bonus bets if your bet loses. So it's basically a fun way to try to boost the bankroll. Also, they got MLB bets. Like I said, I have a futures bet on Oscar Colas to win Rookie of the Year. They have some Eloy Jimenez home run props as well. And we got some college baseball, college basketball. March Madness has been fun. We bet on some games and watched them live at the United Center yesterday. It was a great way to take in that game. So download the app now and sign up with code CHGO. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, guys. Herb, I know you watched the World Baseball Classic last night.
Damn straight. It was great. It was awesome. Initially, the announcers were just on Yoan Moncada because Yoan made a wide-ranging play where he's going to his left, kind of in the shortstop's position, and then, you know, the Yoan throw that's kind of casual, and he kind of airmailed the first baseman and to the first baseman's right, and the guy got saved, so they called an error. I would have called it just a hit because it was a nice hit by the hitter. The guys, like I think it's Ryan Rowland-Smith and the Tyler Mon, they were just killing him all inning long because that inning turned into a 4-run inning, and then the Panamanians took over, and they're like, man, this Yoan Moncada hasn't got a hit, and now he's making errors. He sucks. Literally the next at bat, Yoan Moncada, batting right-handed, smokes a ball into the right center field gap for a double, which he was thinking about going for a triple, but it was the first batter of the inning, so he calmed down and went to just a second. And then he made a base running error right after that, where I don't know if it was an error. It was the rule of the contact play, which I always hate. Ball was hit right to third. Yoan was in no man's land, got tagged out. Then had a great game after that. Like another RBI single, 2 RBI single, and then he drew a walk to have a run score and a base loaded walk. So 3 for 5, I believe, 4 RBI. And then Luis Robert, I think he went 2 for 5 and drove in a couple runs himself. So it was very exciting. It was a game that I wanted to stay up for, but GD, it was 4+ hours. Give me regular baseball back. Like, I like the World Baseball Classic, but no, now current MLB rules for the next World Baseball Classic because it's way too long.
Maybe baseball's whole ploy here was to make sure that the two sets of rules were different. So all these people who are like, oh, I don't know about the pitch clock, can very easily see the comparison between what they used to have and what they've got now.
It's kind of like, remember when HD TV was introduced, and once you saw it, you're like, yeah, that's what we should be watching. And then you watch something in standard TV, it's like, ugh, we actually watched it like this? Ugh, why? What are we doing?
All letterboxed and
Yeah. And so that's how it feels like, oh, these games are just dragging ass. That's enough.
Okay, now we can just say we're pitch clock elitists. And hopefully we see the pitch clock every single day. I don't want to watch a baseball game that's 3.5 hours, like, unless it's going to extra innings, unless it's like, you know, they're playing because it's like the Evansville Vanderbilt game that went into 16 innings. Like, that was fun. I'll stay up and watch that. It's 1-1. Like,
what was it?
I know you don't like baseball.
Exactly, Vinny. Exactly.
You know, I don't like baseball at all. Yeah,
you don't like baseball, Vinny. Man, you didn't watch the World Baseball Classic, did you?
No. As we've established, I do not get MLB Network, and I am a chronic rule follower, so I'm not going to circumnavigate my cable package in any sort of illegal way. But
Comcast is very happy to hear that.
Well, it's not Comcast, it's
Oh,
Hulu.
well,
So,
there you
but
go.
yeah,
Hulu is
yeah.
very
Hulu's very
doesn't
happy to hear
Comcast
that.
own isn't everything owned by Comcast?
No, Disney owns Hulu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comcast doesn't own Disney?
No.
Okay,
Not
cool.
yet.
No, not yet. Right. I'm sure we'll get there in a couple of years, but no, I did not. But I watched some highlights this morning of Yohan and Luis's work there for Team Cuba. And my takeaway is, we're back to baseball season, because 2 games in, they don't do anything, and it is sky is falling for White Sox fans. And then all of a sudden they have a nice day. Both of them can on the same day, and all right, it's fixed. Here we go. We're back at it. So just nice to be back in the swing of baseball here, even before the games get going, and we get a nice glimpse to what awaits once we hit March 30th.
Absolutely. It seems like Yohan Moncada is hopefully settling in. You look at the Netherlands game, and maybe it's just because there's worse pitching. Also, we said Panama wrong. It's Panama. 75.6 miles per hour average exit velocity against the Netherlands, 81.5 miles per hour exit velocity against Italy. His hardest one against Matt Harvey, and then 90.48 MPH average against Panama. He did have one that was 100 plus, which is great to see. But even the double, I mean, it was like a weird, I thought he pulled the ball, but it like flared out to right center. Like, I don't love watching baseball in that stadium. I think it's a nice stadium. It's very sunny there. Is it like just getting all the sun? Like, is it just completely facing east or something, and just getting like the most sun possible during 12 p.m. in Taiwan?
Not sure, but the wind is a factor out there,
Mhm.
and so balls get knocked down or get assisted a lot in that stadium. I've seen a couple games in those things, and when they're playing night games, it's more lively. I don't know if the sun and the wind dies down by that. I mean, the sun does, but the wind dies down by that time. But there were I don't think any home runs in the game that I watched, Panama versus Cuba. Just an exciting baseball. Panama was up 4-2, and it seemed like the sky was falling. And then Yohan Moncada and Luis Robert fueled the team, because they are I think the only major league representatives on the hitting side for Cuba. Of course, you have Cespedes, who used to be a major league baseball player, but he's been pretty much benched in his last games. He's not been really good. I mean, he made an error the other day versus Italy that cost him dearly. So these guys have to carry the mail, and it's probably a lot of weight on their shoulders as the actual major league talent current on Cuba. And so I think also Cuba's future of going through the World Baseball Classic with major league players depends on Yohan and Luis Roberts, success or failure, because they've had great success using these amateurs before in the World Baseball Classic, where in the first
they're
round,
pros. They're pros in Cuba, I would imagine, right? Yeah.
But they were 10-2 in the first round and throughout the years of the World Baseball Classic. Now they've lost 2 in a row. Winning last night was a great relief for them. So I hope that Yohan and Luis take that mantle and take that pressure on their shoulders and understand, it's not that big of a pressure, but also it is a little bit, because for our future in the next 3 years, they might be going back to the players who they used before, which are mostly populated on the team currently.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm surprised. Oscar Colas, I don't know what the current relationship is, but he's from Cuba. I mean, I think he's probably currently a most talented enough to be on that team. So
he's probably trying to win a job, though.
That's true. But maybe in 4 years they have Colas, who will be 28, and that'd be a huge boost to them. Hopefully you see more Cuban players, start playing more baseball. I mean, they've always produced great baseball players, so hopefully just the island gets a little bit rejuvenated. I mean, we've seen just I don't know. I'm not going to start talking about Cuban American relationships. Let's talk about baseball. It's just, it's tough. Cuba is in a very tough spot, and they don't have a Cuban drive line. It's really just whatever they can produce. And, I usually, obviously with Robert and Moncada, there's a lot of talent. So, and even Cespedes, But at least with Robert, looking at the exit velocities, he had the one smacking double against the Dutch at 110.6, but then average exit velocity against Italy 79.8, and then against Panama 77.9. So again, it's 3 games. It's against, it's on the other side of the country. Like, I'm not gonna say like, they're perfect or they're bad or whatever. It's 3 games, but just interesting to follow, and it's good to see them have success. Like, I'm glad they won a game. I mean, you guys didn't take me seriously about Italy, and here they come beating Cuba.
Yeah, but you were trashing Panama, and they're in like first place, aren't they?
No, they've fallen off, right?
You were trashing Panama. You were trashing the Dutch. You were come on, Sean.
I
trashing the Dutch.
I trashed the Czech Republic, and they actually won a game.
The Czech, yeah, no, oh my God, that home run was crazy. And Australia won a game too.
Well, hey, Team USA, who we couldn't stop salivating over the other day, got crushed by the San Francisco Giants B team in spring training the other day. So who knows what to expect.
You see what the Giants A team's doing? Mainly the outfielder that they signed.
Michael Conforto,
3 homers.
Good
in
for
practice.
Him.
In spring training.
In practice, cool.
He's going to be
practice?
so
We talking about Michael Conforto practice.
We can update everyone on the pools right now. In Pool A, Netherlands are 2-0. The team I bagged. I'll wear it. Chinese Taipei and Italy are 1-1, and Cuba 1-2. They just got their first win against Panama, who is also 1-2. So Panama tied for last right now with Cuba in Pool A. Pool B over in Tokyo, Japan is 2-0. Otani pitched and just shut down Korea, and then just laced 2 balls for a double and single because he's the greatest athlete currently on the planet, right?
I mean, when it comes to baseball playing, sure.
But no,
you can make that argument.
I mean, who would be the representative for the Big Four? Connor McDavid for the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Shohei Otani dunking on anyone.
I could see him dunking though.
Nah,
I think he could get
talent.
He could jump. He can. What's his vertical? Probably at least 35 inches. He's 6'4".
He can't do it. But I would say like a player like Lamar Jackson in football or Justin Fields. So those people are better athletes than Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, Shohei Ohtani does much more and a much more difficult job than probably any athlete, pitching and hitting and doing them at a high level. But yeah, he's a great athlete. But, baseball athlete is not an oxymoron, but it's not really a thing to brag about.
I mean, I wouldn't even go that far. I would just say that like all athletics, you're very specialized, right? Like who is out there that like, is going to be able to do not the decathlon, because even that is specialized, but the decathlon of team sports, I guess, if you were to make such a thing, like who out there is going to be able to succeed at this? I was saying, I don't see Shohei Ohtani dunking. Well, I don't see LeBron pitching. You know what I mean? So like, it's all the same thing.
Let's go. Thank you, Joey, for bringing this up.
You found this so fast.
Yeah, seriously. So I think this is from Pitching Ninja, but the quote is, I was talking to our pitching coordinator who says Ohtani can dunk and put his elbow through the rim. He's just an unbelievable athlete. He's 70.
His elbow through the rim.
Hearsay.
Yeah, like he did it with like Aloy tried to do, but he didn't tear up his shoulder.
Hearsay. Come on. No one said he saw him actually dunk. He's
Would
the
you
guy saying that he talked to the pitching coordinator, who's the pitching coordinator saw Ohtani dunk.
The Angels' social media are missing out. They should be making Mr. Perfect videos of Shohei Ohtani right now. He should be throwing footballs to himself. He should be hitting home runs blindfolded. He should be dunking and putting his elbow through the rim. He should be skating backwards, like
spitting out his gum and then hitting it while it falls out of his mouth.
Yes. He should carry a towel out to the mound and put it like behind him. And then like once he strikes everybody out, it's like tossing it behind his back and like
wear a singlet when he goes out to pinch. Bright neon green singlet.
There we go. Mr. Perfect. Shohei Ohtani.
I'm lost. I'm lost here.
Wrestling.
Mr. Perfect?
Wrestling. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Hey. And it's not just this, it's not just the top 7%. It's like the top 6.5%. Like, I mean, he's the elite of the elite, top 75th percentile in sprint speed. He's fast. He's fast. He's strong. He can throw 95. I mean, barely people could throw 95.
I don't think any of us are here saying that Shohei Ohtani is not good at baseball. He's amazing.
I'm marveling. He is amazing. It's crazy.
But
yeah, they have a 2-0.
Sports, baseball is probably the third or fourth of athletes, I would say. Hockey would be the last.
I mean, it depends, right? Kickers play football. Right?
I don't know.
There's a guy who hits 50 home runs in a season is a more impressive physical specimen than a guy who stands in the corner and shoots threes, right? I mean, it's all specialized. That's the thing.
Obviously, an NFL player is strong, but obviously a baseball player is more coordinated. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
at their thing.
I don't think. I mean, JJ Watt hit a home run in batting practice, but like, I mean, what can he do to a slider going 88 in the other batter's box?
Yeah, and can he throw a fork ball? I doubt it.
Literally.
Gauntlet thrown down to all-time great NFL player JJ Watt on whether or not he can throw a fork ball.
I think I saw him like posting on Twitter though. He is like he's lacing up skates, so I think he's maybe JJ Watt will become a hockey player. Anyways, going back to the pools. Pool B, Japan 2-0, Australia won a game, they're 1-0, Czech Republic won a game, 1-0, China's 0-2, Korea 0-2. So we thought Korea was going to be, their one loss would be probably to Japan. Japan looking strong, but it seems like Korea is falling down a little bit. It'd be
Doors
really
wide
exciting.
open for the Aussies.
It would be so exciting if either the Aussies or the Czechs got in.
Very true.
I mean,
I'd have to go back down to Sydney for another watch party. I watched the World Cup with the Aussies. Now I'd have to go back for World Baseball Classic watch party.
I mean, think about the Czech Republic. They're not only the first time doing the baseball classic, they're the only team in that region that has to travel that far. I mean, Japan has to stay at home. Australia's in the area. It's not that far away. China and Korea are in the area too. So you don't have to change too much about your life schedule. Like we have to wake up and watch games at 10 o'clock at night or way early in the morning. Czech Republic is in a new situation and having to go to this new time zone where it's a little earlier in the day than they're used to. So it's very impressive what they did in their first ever World Baseball Classic. The dentist, the lawyer, the accountants are out here doing work.
I thought that was the setup to a joke for a second there.
The shoe
Did they all walk into a bar?
And they win a game in Japan.
It's going to be interesting too. March 13th, the last game that both Australia and Czech Republic play will be against each other. So that could possibly be, winner gets sent home, winner advances. That could be fun. And then I think they go and play, the Netherlands and get smoked. Either team. Hopefully I ate my words though. Anyways, let's take another break here, and then we'll get into a topic I didn't prep you guys on. All right. I was inspired yesterday, and we'll talk about it. About ComEd though. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities we serve save money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, whether it's lighting, HVAC system, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed plan specific to your goals and needs. And these can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. So don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips and to schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz. It's ComEd.com/poweringbiz. And if you're ready to sign up for a facility assessment, call us at 1-855-433-2700 during normal business hours to speak with a ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative. All right. So we went to the Big Ten tournament yesterday at the United Center. 14 teams are in that tournament. Got two things to throw out here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love the current postseason for baseball. 162 seems like too much. So I have two things. Let's fix baseball. Let's fix the postseason.
Just in the next 17 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
We could do it. We're smart. There's 15 teams, and obviously there might be expansion. Nashville is coming up. But hopefully right now there's 15 teams in each league, American National. We saw 14 teams in the Big Ten tournament. Would you be opposed to every team making the playoffs?
Yes.
I'll just start with that question.
Yes. Because why are you playing a regular season then? In college, I think you're playing for a very specific thing. You know what I mean? Like the regular season in college basketball, what you're comparing this to, is your regular season, right? And you establish yourself, you fight, you get ready for March because of that. Your tournament resume is built in what you do in the regular season. And then there's this extra bonus thing that comes from the winner of the conference tournament, which almost always is a team that was going to be playing in the big dance anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you're watering down the regular season with the inclusion of a conference tournament. In what you're talking about in baseball, if they were to do that, every team gets into the postseason. Why did we even do the regular season other than warm up, right? I mean, there's literally no benefit to winning other than maybe a home field advantage. So, okay, there's no benefit to being, there's no difference, I should say, in being the best team in the league and the 7th best team in the league.
I say no also. I mean, baseball used to be a league where you played that long ass season, 154, now 162, to have 2 teams go to the World Series. That made sense to me because of the length of the season, but also kind of unfair because a lot of teams like I think the 103 win San Francisco Giants in the 90s left out of the playoffs just because they're in the same division as the Atlanta Braves at the time. So I like the fact that they do playoff expansion now because it gives teams a little bit more chances. So there's 10 teams in the playoffs now, Sean, or 14? I don't know what it is. I would go further to fix baseball and just eliminate divisions, eliminate like AL, NL. It doesn't matter anymore. Back in the day, there was a use for divisions because of train travel. We get flights now, 4 hours.
That's how old baseball is, people.
Yeah. And so you don't need it. We don't need to play Cleveland or Cincinnati or these teams that are close to us all the time. I think it'd be more equitable to play every team equal amount of times and put this best 14 teams in the playoffs or whatever it is.
That's 14?
Whatever
That's
number
so
you
many
want to.
teams.
Yeah, now there's 12.
Yeah, whatever number you want to have, just put
4.
the best.
4.
Okay. I'm fine with that too.
All right, maybe not 15. How about 5? And how about
how you do that
from each league?
Whoa, five teams. All right. How you do that? You just, I would say, eliminate divisions. Just clear that out, or you can keep the 3 divisions. No matter what, the team with the best record gets a bye, and then you have pool play. So inspired by the World Baseball Classic, 4 teams, everyone faces each other, and you get a pool winner. That pool winner advances to the American League Championship, and then you have a World Series, both of those being game 7s or series, whatever, best of 7.
So 5 per league?
Yes. So it'd be,
okay, thank you.
You could keep divisions and have the 3 division winners, 2 wild cards.
The thing I don't like about pool play in baseball is it's not how baseball is set up during the season, right? I think there is a value in a series because it mirrors what the regular season is. You set up your pitching staff. You're facing these teams in a chunk. Like you are during the regular season. If they were to move it to some sort of basketball type schedule, where you play the Dodgers one day, then 3 days later you're playing the Rockies, 3 days later you're playing the Orioles, then that's fine, right? Then that more goes along with what the sport looks like. If you were to say, oh, that's what the NBA is going to do, I'd be like, all right, sure. But I think in baseball, it's turning the postseason into something that you haven't been doing for the previous 6 months. And I just think that the weight should be on the regular season when it comes to entry into the postseason and success in the postseason, because it's if you're taking 6 months to weed out the best teams and then you get to the postseason and you're like, all right, now you're going to do something different. Well, that doesn't make a bunch of sense to me.
So Vinny, you said 4. Do you mean 4 per or just 4?
Just 4 total. American League Championship Series, National League Championship Series, winners play in the World Series. That's all I need.
You don't care about the owner's money, about their wallets. Come on, Vinny.
Me? I don't care about their rich people's money? No, that doesn't sound like me.
To help out the rich people, would you then make each series like 21 games? It's like best of 21?
No, best of 7. Let's go. It was like this for 100 years.
Yeah, but we got to change. I like more teams. I that's why I said just give me all the teams. Like I don't care if the Oakland A's get absolutely crushed. Who would be the second place team last year? I guess it would be the Yankees, right? Yeah. Like I don't care if the A's just get absolutely murdered by the Yankees in round one. But how funny would it be if a 99 win Yankee team lost to the A's in the first round, a 60 win A's team? And teams maybe wouldn't give up on the season that much earlier. Like maybe they'd still try to vie a little bit more because, you know, you don't have to face the Yankees. You could face the Mariners and it's a one game.
But this is what I hate about that. Like, yeah, it's in March Madness. It's fun to see an upset, right? But like, then it's like, well, what did we just do the last 6 months for? If the Yankees are eliminated by the A's in a 1-game playoff, okay. So why did we even do this whole 6-month 162 game season that we just that the A's slogged through, and now, oh boy, they get to beat the Yankees in one game.
I just selfishly think about how our coverage would be then, Sean.
Well, that's
just like
I agree with Alex real quick.
We're like, if it's oh yeah, that's what happened from 1919 until 1959. The Yankees won every time. It wasn't Yankees, it was the Red Sox. And so the White Sox didn't see the playoffs for 40 years. But our shows would be like, oh, the White Sox lost. It doesn't matter. We're the 7th team in the damn AL. You're going to play the Minnesota Twins in the first round.
Oh, that'd be great.
It'll be 162 games of boring. Until we
but
get
now
to
there's
the
a pitch
actual
clock.
Excitement of October, which would take forever too, Sean. We'll be playing until damn December if we got.
I mean, it already takes
one game.
Oh, just one game?
He just wants to turn it into March Madness.
It'd be a tournament. Well,
you play that many games to get eliminated by the goddamn Oakland A's? No.
Okay,
I'm
but
furious.
At least with the if we go to the pool idea though, they're doing these pools for the World Baseball Classic in 4 days. So you'd have 4 days, and basically the team with the bye would have kind of like a full rotation off in a sense. I don't know if they'd play exactly like, you know, right now it's March 9th to the 13th they're playing. I don't know if they'd start the American League Championship on the 14th, but
I think we saw
that
last year where the Padres played early and the Phillies played early and they beat their other teams that had the byes. I thought the Mets had the bye right in the first round. Mm-hmm. And some people were saying like not playing for that amount of time might have cost the Mets and or the other opponents some mojo that they were doing into the playoffs. So
Dodgers and Braves had the byes.
Okay. Or the Braves. Yeah, the Braves got killed and the Dodgers got killed by the Padres. So those people had the off time and they still lost.
The thing is, people have been trying now for 30 years to make October better, to improve on October. And I think that it's been at the expense of September. I mean, that's just my thought, is that, like, don't you want a race? Don't you want a 2-month long race where every single day something's on the line for a host of teams? I mean, like, by the time you get to mid-October, you're down to 4 anyway, and maybe 26 fan bases are completely checked out. If you start with the idea that only the best of the best are going to be playing in October, then the last month and a half, 2 months of the season are this race to the finish to get to one of those 2 or 4 spots. It really makes for months worth of exciting baseball as opposed to just a few days worth of exciting baseball because we tinkered with the format and now, hey, your team is going to get 2 more games in the season. Like I would rather watch a team play for 2 months worth of trying to make the math work out.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the 2011 season. Like that was the craziest day in baseball history. So yeah, no,
it's not possible without the weeks and months that came before it too. That's right. The thing. Yeah.
And two, I mean, people think so fondly of the 2008 season. Like we wouldn't have 163 if there wasn't the 162 before it.
And we're not going to have 163 in the future. Sad.
Yeah.
Unless we go to Sean's. Well, if we go to Sean's thing, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't pitch Dylan Cease
I like
all.
the pool play better than all 15 because I don't want to see the A's throw out,
just wait until October. We'll pitch you in October for that one game.
How about this? Here you go, Sean. I've got the solution for you. You're going to like this. You take all 30 Major League Baseball teams. you take all minor league baseball teams, and you take all college baseball teams, and it's just a single elimination tournament that starts on April 1st and ends at the end of October.
I love you. I was thinking this as well. I was inspired by the FA Cup for England. All of the divisions, Premier League, the other one, the one below that one, the other one as well. They all face off, and just usually the Premier League teams don't give a shit. So it's like, the fourth division teams are beating up on like Man United. How hilarious would it be if like Evansville, who I talked about, going 16 innings with Vanderbilt, beat the Yankees.
Yeah, and then the Yankees are done. There's no thing to move on to. That's it. You get one game. Everybody gets one game.
Michael K is just bored then for 6 months there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Yankees would kill Evansville multiple reasons, because then they would have to change over to the wood bats, which they're not comfortable with.
No, I think we got to make it even. Give the college kids metal bats.
I'm about to say, give them the major leagues metal bats. You want somebody to die?
Give Giancarlo Stanton a metal bat.
God.
Aaron Judge a metal bat.
That ball go 1,000 feet.
And these poor Evansville kids, these aces, the Evansville aces, hanging sliders left and right, and just getting.
No one volunteers to pitch. It's just a pitching machine. It's like, I ain't getting hit with that ball.
They put the fence up, but like around every single position player as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, a nice little experiment. Nice to know where you guys' heads are at. It was fun being at the Big Ten tournament. I gotta say,
it was not fun, Sean. Sorry,
huh?
It was not fun.
Well, sorry about the result. I had fun. I didn't care about the game.
Yeah. I hate my team.
I mean, again, like I said, it wasn't even Lundy or Pickett beating you in the first half. It was Clary.
Did you stay for Maryland, Minnesota? I didn't even see what happened in that game.
No, I left immediately after that Illinois game. Just despondent.
My wife just turned to me and she's like, I feel so bad for the next two teams where there's going to be nobody in this stadium watching them.
Maryland won, and I do know that the first half score was 31-24, and that Minnesota covered 7.5. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. The DraftKings ad read said, talk about bets you've just won. There you go. Make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. When you do sign up, use code CHGO when you do. That's Vinny Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinny Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader, enjoying a Goose Island beverage. And
thank you at the United Center, too.
Oh, yeah. That was
funny.
Hey, it was very nice of Kevin and Jake to buy beers. But shout out to Chris Crawford as well. You can follow him again at Crawford_MILB. And we're very thankful to Rotowire. Go to rotowire.com/CHGO for your free 2-day trial. We'll talk to you on Sunday. Hook 'em, Joey.